G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. I'm coming to you from a location up here on the mid-north coast, a place where I haven't been for over probably 30 years, I reckon. I'm at a beach called 1 Mile Beach, and it sits between Berrubi or Anna Bay and Fingal Bay. But I'm just reminded of how beautiful this place is. It's winter, it's overcast, it's very, very windy. But I have found a nook where I can come down here and do my 5am club and just be out of the elements. There's a nice little house or surf club up there, looking very, very pretty. And as you can see, we've got the uninterrupted views here of 1 Mile Beach. There are a number of surfers out there just enjoying these conditions. And as you can probably see in the distance, the waves are pretty blowy and there's plenty of spray about. What I want to do today is go for a walk and talk and have a chat to you about a book summary entitled Common Sense by an author named Thomas Paine. So hopefully I won't get too buffeted by the wind, but I'll just go down here into the corner. I think it should be okay, and we'll go through this book summary and see what we can learn. The author kicks off the book with a very, very profound statement, a quote from his book, where he says, Time makes more converts than reason. A very powerful point. And I guess we all have lessons in our lives where as we get older, we start to become our parents, sharing the same sort of views that they had when we were younger, where we thought that what they were saying was silly and outdated. But as you get older, you start to realise that time makes us all converts to common sense. When we're young, we tend to be very idealistic and see the world through a different prism and through different lenses. But as we get older, we learn through time and experience that life is a little bit different to what we once thought it was from an idealistic perspective, and we have a different view and a different appreciation. You know? So I guess we need everything. We need the good times, we need the bad times, but time is one of those things that enables us to gain balanced appreciation in our lives. So the first formal point to come out of this book from this author is where the author makes an observation that society and rules are a result of humans doing best when they work together. I guess when you're young, we start by being dependent, highly dependent, then we become independent. We spend quite a few years living independently of others around us. But sooner or later we realise that the greatest form of life form is when you're interdependent, where you both depend on others and others depend on you. Because working together is the way we get the biggest bang for the buck, I guess, is the key lesson. So the first formal point to come out of this book from this author is where we talk about the importance of grouping together, working together to generate more productivity and I guess better long-term outcomes. So we can't live alone. We can't live without being as part of a group. We can't survive without being part of a pack. Is the key important, because society is important. You simply can't realize your true potential without working with and through others. So there comes a level of maturity when we realize that we need others in our lives in order to maximize the potential and to realize the gifts that we all have. Because each and every one of us, as we've learnt time and time again, have different gifts, have different God-given gifts, and our gifts complement those of others, and we can leverage our gifts, others can leverage ours as well. But by combining our resources, by combining the things that we have available to us, we are in a better position to truly maximize each and everybody's potential. Because there are some who can give more, there are some who can give less, and there are some who can give nothing. But they're all part of a whole, and we need to appreciate the fact that we need each other, I guess, is the bottom line. So as I mentioned before, the lesson that we learnt from Stephen Covey years ago in the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is the fact that interdependence is the key, where we give and receive. It's not about just giving, and it's not just about taking, but we need to learn to do the both, to give and receive. Because it's the most basic thing that we have in our lives. And most importantly, the most important lesson that we all need to understand and to learn is that to function as a society, we need to cooperate in order to allow society to prosper. Here's a nice little fish over here, looks like it's a salmon. Somebody's caught a salmon and cleaned it, and the seagulls are enjoying what's left of that salmon. So the concept of cooperation is very, very important. And a lot of people are uncooperative. I don't know why, what causes it, but you sense it. People are just very, very selfish. Some people, not all people, but some people are very, very selfish, and all they want to do is just focus on their own ideas, their own needs, and live within a society, but live as an adjunct. Don't live as part of that society, just live on the side and just voice their opinion and do whatever they have to do. Until, of course, the time comes where they can no longer be independent and they need then the help of others around them. But, the sun's coming out. How beautiful is this? So the key point to come out of this author, out of this book, on common sense, is that we need to cooperate in order to enable society to prosper. And to enable cooperation, we need laws. Because of the fact, as I mentioned before, that we are surrounded by people who are idealists, people who are selfish, people who are, to a certain extent, immature. So we need laws to be able to bring these people into line, and we need government and systems to, let me just get out of the way here, otherwise I'll get caught up in this water. And I'm wearing my R.M. Williams boots, which I don't think are surf-proof. So we need government systems to help set guidelines in order to assist us from harming each other Because as I said before, people don't go out of their way to harm each other, but it's our selfishness. I remember years ago somebody saying that there's no such thing as evil people or bad people. But what we have are differing interests, differing perspectives, and some people want to cooperate and to give up and to cooperate, and yet others are just hard-nosed and just want to get their own things that they want in life without necessarily cooperating with those around them, or giving up anything that they've got or they think that they're entitled to. So we need the right and an effective political system. So we need to have a system around us which is the right one and an effective one to organise our society and the people around us in the best possible way. I guess a key observation that I've made over the past few years, and I never noticed this when I was growing up, when I was younger, but the world is very, very divided these days than what it was ever before in the history of mankind. Every election is a balanced, a very, very divided election where the community is 50-50, which is interesting to say the least. But what the author here is saying here is that the reason why we need government, with the reason why we need cooperation, is that we need elected officials that can enact what the people want. And this is a better form of government than monarchy. In the past, there were monarchies, but monarchy has its limitations. You know yourself, we need to be organised. We need somebody to organise us, especially when you've got lots and lots of people. Even a small family gathering, just organising dinner with your family is a very, very challenging event, because each of the people in the family have different likes and dislikes. There are sensitivities. So you can imagine, how difficult it is just to organise dinner and to get people at a table, around the table there, to eat, to behave, and to work with each other. How difficult that is, let alone trying to do it for millions of people, as governments are called to do. When the author here brings to our attention that it's important to ensure that the groups have representation. It's no good just having a government or a government system which just represents the elites or represents the few. The most effective form of government is where everybody is reflected and represented, but not to the point where we get obsessed with identity politics and where everybody's needs become more important than other people's needs, or where the minorities try to rule the majority. Everything needs to be proportional, and everything needs to be fair to a certain extent, knowing very well that we can't have perfection within an economic or political system. And this is where polling is important, to try and understand what the needs are of the constituents, but to also understand that polling can be manipulated, especially these days where we've got social media and we've got a very, very few, very, very loud and very, very active members who make it look like that there are millions and millions of people out there who hold the same sort of views. And yet there are a couple of people, and we see it in our Facebook and our Instagram pages, that there are some people who have some very, very radical, nonsensical views to a certain extent, who try to impose those views on everybody else, trying to make everybody think that the views of the few are the ones that are held by the majority. But as we know, the silent majority are the ones who, when it comes to voting, are the ones who are able to, finalise and point out in no uncertain terms what the political views are from the majority. But polling, as we say, if done properly, can assist those in government, those in power, to stay in touch with what the critical current issues are, rather than just the popular critical issues. So the other thing that the author talks about here is monarchy, where you may have had one really, really powerful and one influential monarch who has been good for the community and good for the society. Usually their offspring are hopeless and corrupt and useless, which means that the whole concept of monarchy isn't all that beneficial to the majority. The last point the author talks about is an example of how governments need to grow, change and develop, and they use the example of America and how America at some point came of age and needed to separate from Great Britain, just like a teenager comes to the point in their lives when they need to leave home, they need to fly the coop. America too came of age and needed to separate itself from its homeland, because to a certain extent the homeland, or Great Britain, didn't treat America with the respect that it needed to be treated by, and it was mistreated. And Americans didn't want to be British. Americans wanted to be American, just like Australians want to be Australian. And there comes a point where their children, each person's child, grandchild, needs to be in a position where they can express themselves and not be just an offspring or an extension to their parents and grandparents. Each person needs to grow, develop, and to feel as if they're living their own lives and to chase their own dreams. Just like America wanted to chase its own dreams. And the other interesting thing is that Britain tried to rule America in the days of old, and yet there was no American representation in the British Parliament, which meant from the American perspective that Britons were ruling America as a tyranny and not as a democracy. So sometimes in these situations, each and every person needs to have a clean break. So I think I'll leave it there. So once again, thank you for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where I'm coming to you from a beach that I haven't been to for 30 years, named 1 Mile Beach. I'm sure I'll come down here with my granddaughters one day just to show it off and to check it out, and to remind ourselves the importance of having common sense, and that time eventually makes more converts than reason. And we can see this in the current debate that we're having, where you've got some people who are against vaccinations, are vaccine hesitant, but I say to those people that time will convert you. Doesn't matter how much the politicians and people try to reason with these people, it's time that will show what the right thing is to do. And we're seeing globally how the challenge of COVID-19 is impacting communities, countries. It's ceasing the flow of tourists, of people and causing havoc amongst the world's populations. But time will show us, time will prove to us that the gift of these vaccines will free us up and will enable us to live a new normal. I don't expect to get back to the old normal to a certain extent, but it will enable us to live a new normal, which will be as close as possible to the old normal, if not better than the old normal. So we need to be patient, and I guess the big lesson for all of us is not to worry too much about debating the fears or worrying too much about what people say, think or do, because time will bring them across and bring them on board. Just like the people who were worried about 5G, 4G, 3G, 2G, 1G, no G, minus 1G, minus 2G, minus 3G. All of those people who were worried sick about technology and how it was going to cause all of these maladies to the world, time has proven that beyond doubt, beyond any doubt, that their fears were irrational fears, and that, as I say before, and as the author has suggested, that with time they realise the errors and the silliness of their ways. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable. And most importantly, let's make the most of this day. Even though it's windy, even though it's cold, get out and about, get off the couch and make the most of this beautiful, beautiful country that we have. As I say time and time again, one of the objectives of Jim's 5am Club is to showcase and highlight the beauty of this country that we have available to us. This beautiful, get out of the way of this water, this beautiful, beautiful land that we have, and to overlay it with a message of empowerment where we can live, learn and pass it on, where we can be the wind beneath our wings, and to help us get through the day. Because as the author talked about in terms of common sense, that we need each other. We need community, we need society, we need government in order for each and every one of us to reach our potential and to be the best possible version that we can of ourselves. So thank you once again for joining me on this morning up here at Nelson Bay, up at Port Stephens. I'm at a beach called, as I said, 1 Mile Beach, which is nestled between Anna Bay and Fingal Bay, and a place that I haven't been to for a while. But even though it's windy, even though it's blustery, I'm able to come here and get out of the elements and deliver another 5am Club, another lesson for each and every one of us, a life hack or two that we can incorporate in our days and hopefully improve the opportunities that we have and enable us to understand each other and the world just a little bit better. Take care, Filakia. Bye for now from 1 Mile Beach on this beautiful Saturday. Take care. Yasas. Take care. Bye for now.